My name is Alix, and I graduated the lycée in 2007. I started here in pre-nursery with Emmanuelle, and we've been best friends since we were 2 years old. Currently, I work in consulting in Washington, D.C., but after the lycée, I attended Tufts University, and then I lived in Singapore, worked for LVMH, doing private equity, and then I worked in Silicon Valley for a startup. I attended the San Francisco Police Academy. I graduated from the police academy. I then went into cybersecurity intelligence, and now I do a very special type of consulting. And I'm also in the U.S. Air Force Auxiliary, where I do search and rescue missions. But she's the impressive one.
No, Alix has had many, many lives. My name's Emmanuelle, and I went to the lycée nursery. That's where I met this one. Mm-hmm. And I'm a journalist living in New York.
She's more than a journalist, let's be clear.
Yes, but I think that encapsulates.
My mother is Swiss, grew up in Lausanne, and my father is French from Lyon. And they met in New York City at, I believe, a nightclub here in the city. And when they got married, my mother insisted that they move back to Switzerland, and my father insisted that they move back to France, and neither would want to go back to the other's country. So they decided to stay in New York City. And they decided to send me to the lycée because they were French themselves, francophone.
I speak French, Portuguese, and Spanish. I learned Spanish here at the lycée, actually. My parents are French and French Brazilian. So my father's French Brazilian, my mother's French from the Alps. They met in New York, similarly to Alix's story. They met at a party, had 2 kids, never moved back. And the reason they sent us to the lycée was because it's a great education. They wanted to keep the French culture. They wanted us to speak French and to keep our culture. And we stayed from pre-nursery all the way to terminale. So did the whole thing. Like, we never left. We stayed the whole time.
Yeah. I think we had 53 nationalities out of 83 kids in our graduating class. It was a miniature UN, and it was amazing to learn and imbibe all the different cultures of the students. There were a lot of children of diplomats, people at the UN, and so because of that, they brought in a lot of knowledge from the different areas of the world that they were in. And when we went to American colleges, even though we grew up in Manhattan, we had a bit of a culture shock. It was very interesting to be inserted into kind of true American culture. We like to joke that we grew up in the island of France, in the island of Manhattan.